Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna again, everyone, and welcome. So first we'll start from with a reading from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit. This is chapter 13, so just starting off. Butler, Pennsylvania, the first testing ground. By the grace of Lord Krishna, the Americans are prosperous in every respect. They're not poverty-stricken like the Indians. The people in general are satisfied so far as their material needs are concerned, and they are spiritually inclined. When I was in Butler, Pennsylvania, about 500 miles from New York City, I saw there many churches, and they were attending regularly. This shows that they are spiritually inclined. I also invited by some churches and church-governed schools and colleges, and I spoke there, and they appreciated it and presented me with some token rewards. When I was speaking to the students, they were very eager to hear about the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam. But the clergymen were cautious about allowing students to hear me so patiently. They feared that the students might be converted to Hindu ideas, as is quite natural for any religious sect. But they do not know that devotional service of the Lord Sri Krishna is the common religion for everyone, including even the Aborigines and cannibals in the jungle. This is from a letter to Sumati Murarji. So the bus came swinging out of the terminal into the daylight of Midtown Manhattan, riding along in the shadows of skyscrapers, through asphalt streets crowded with people, trucks, and automobiles, and into the heavy traffic bound toward the Lincoln Tunnel. The bus entered the tunnel and merged on the Jersey side of the Hudson River, continuing down the New Jersey Turnpike past fields of huge oil tanks and sprawling refineries. The Manhattan skyline was on the left while 3 lanes of traffic sped 60 miles an hour in each direction. Newark Airport came up close by on the right, with jets visible on the ground. Electric power lines spanning aloft between steel towers stretched into the horizon. Srila Prabhupada had never before witnessed anything of such magnitude. He was now seeing for himself that American culture was based on passion for more and more sense gratification, and it was a scene of madness. For what important business were people rushing to and fro at breakneck speed? He could see their goals advertised on the billboards. Of course, he had many times traveled the road from Delhi to Vrindavan, but it did not have many advertisements. A traveler would see mostly the land, roadside streams, temples, homes, farmers in their fields. Most people went on foot or traveled by ox cart or bicycle. And in Vrindavan, even the ordinary passers-by greeted each other by calling the names of God, Jai Radhe, Hare Krishna. Now there were factories outside Delhi, but nothing like this. The cumulative effect did not pack nearly the materialistic punch of these fields of oil tanks, mammoth factories, and billboards alongside the crowded superhighway. Meat-eating, illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling, the very sins Srila Prabhupada had come to preach against, were proudly glamorized on mile after mile of billboards. The signs promoted liquor and cigarettes. Roadside restaurants offered slaughtered cows in the form of steaks and hamburgers. And no matter what the product, it was usually advertised by a lusty-looking woman. But Prabhupada had come to teach the opposite, that happiness is not found in the passion for sense gratification, and that only when one becomes detached from the mode of passion, which leads to sinful acts, can one become eligible for the eternal happiness of Krishna consciousness. Shyama Mataji, should I read more or should I stop there?
You can stop here, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay, Haribol, thank you. I'm just going to close this. Right. I'm just going to share the screen for Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so Hare Krishna and welcome. And thank you, Shama Mataji, for giving me this opportunity to say some words today. I know there are many senior devotees on this forum, and I humbly seek for your blessings so that I can be of some service to you and Guru and Krishna. And ultimately, this is for my own purification. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 4, which is entitled chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, and it is text 5. Okay. So before we start, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we'll read our shlok. Antartano nabasvatyam havirdanam avindata ya indram ashpahar aram vidvan apina jagnivan. Antardano nabasvatyam havirdanam avindata ya indram ashpahartaram vidvan apina jagnivan. Antardano nabasvatyam havirdanam avindata na indramashvahartaram vidvanapi na jagnivan. Would you like to recite as well?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
Antardano navasvatyam haridhanam abhindata ya indram ashva hartaram vidanapi na jaganivam.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Would anyone else like to recite?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am also trying.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Antardhano navashatam haridhanam abindata ya indramasya hartaram vidvanopi na jagnivan. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam. I am also trying.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Pranam.
Antardhana nabi satyam habirdhanam abhindata ya indram asya hartaram vidvan apinam jagnivan. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Dandavat Pranams.
Dandavat Pranam.
Antardhano nabasvatyam haridhanam abindata ya indramasvahartaram vidvanapi na jagnavyan.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, may I try please?
Yes, please, Mataji. Thank you.
Antardhana nabhasvatyam havirdhanam avindat ya indram ashvahartaram vidvanapi na jaganivan. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Would someone like to read the synonyms?
Yes,
I'll try,
Mataji.
Mataji. Yeah, you can go ahead, Mataji.
No, Prabhu, you go ahead, please.
No, please go ahead, Mataji. No problem.
Okay, thank you. Antardhana, the king of the name of Antardhan. Navashatam, unto his wives, Navashati. Havirdhanam, of the name of Havirdhana. Abhindata, obtained. Who? Indram, King Indra. Ashahartaram, who was stealing the horse of his father. Vidvan api, although he knew it. No Jagnivan, did not kill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, maybe would you like to read the translation, please?
Please surrender. So
Yeah,
accepted
no problem.
one surrenders to the supreme.
No problem.
Becomes free from full creation.
I think somebody is reading. Okay.
Oh, Galaxy tab is.
May I try please, Mataji?
Yes, okay, please. Thank you, Mataji.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Maharaj Antardhan had another wife named Nabhaswati, and by her he was happy to beget another son named Abhirdhan. Since Maharaj Antardhan was very liberal, he did not kill Indra while the demigod was stealing his father's horse at the sacrifice. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Would someone like to read the purport, please?
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I read the purport?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Purport. It is understood from various scriptures and Puranas that the king of heaven, Indra, was very expert in stealing and kidnapping. He could steal anything without being visible to the proprietor, and he could kidnap anyone's wife without being detected. Once he raped the wife of Gautama Muni by using his disappearing art, and similarly, by becoming invisible, he stole the horse of Maharaj Prithu. Although in human society such activities are considered abominable, the demigod Indra was not considered to be degraded by them. Although Antardhan could understand that King Indra was stealing the horse from his father, he did not kill Indra, for he knew that if one who is very powerful sometimes commits an abominable act, it should be disregarded. In Bhagavad Gita 9.30, it is clearly stated, Api chet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhur eva samantavyah samyak vyavasito hi saha. Thus the Lord says that even if a devotee commits an abominable act, he should be considered a sadhu or a pious man because of his unflinching devotion to the Lord. The devotees of the Lord never willingly commit any sinful act, but sometimes they commit something abominable due to their previous habits. Such acts should not be taken very seriously, however, because the devotees of the Lord are very powerful, whether they are on the heavenly planets or on this planet. If by chance they commit something abominable, it should not be taken into account, but should be overlooked. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Very nice. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that screen. Okay. Now we just do our pranams. Om Agyana Tamirandhyasya Gyana Jana Shalakya Chaksur Unmalitam Yena Tasme Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristha Bhutale Srimati Janananda Goswami Iti Namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristha Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunvari Pashtita Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so quite an interesting shlok that we have today. Just gonna pick it up there. So it's one that can, bring up a lot of discussion. Some may agree and some may not agree. So we'll just do a quick recap though. We've just had a few more texts before this. And we find that this is a conversation between Maitreya Muni and Vidyura. And Maitreya Muni has explained how Vijit Ashva, who is the eldest son of Maharaj Prithu, actually has all those good qualities and the reputation of his father. And Vijit Ashva becomes the emperor, and he's very liberal, he's very affectionate. And what he does is he actually gives the different directions of the world to his younger brothers to govern as well. And Maharaj Vijit Ashva actually had this quality or this characteristic where he could disappear. And that is why he is known as Antardana. Okay. So we know that the demigods, some of the demigods have this great mystic power, and they were able to bestow that power onto Antardana because of his great qualities, because they were so pleased with him. It was actually Lord Indra who was really pleased with him. Now, in today's translation, I'm just going to read the translation again. It says, Maharaj Antardana had another wife named Nabhaspati, and by her he was happy to beget another son, named Havirdana. Since Maharaj Antardana was very liberal, he did not kill Indra while the demigod was stealing his father's horse at the sacrifice. Okay. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada highlights some of Lord Indra's abominable acts. For example, theft, kidnapping, and rape. So really serious stuff. It's not like just a simple somebody taking something off another person. And in this purport, we also note that Indra was very expert in actually doing these sinful acts. For example, he could become invisible, right? And this is how he was able to steal King Prithu's horse, because he wanted to stop that yagna from taking place. So this trait of being invisible is something that our present-day criminals would just love, because just imagine they could do a crime and they will get out scot-free. But that will be absolute chaos for all of us. So the powers in the wrong hands will just lead to total disorder. And we also need to understand Indra is not just the person, Indra is a post, right? So we know that it is a post that is occupied by different individuals or different personalities, just like how we have the Prime Minister, right? The Prime Minister has can change after each election, sorry. The Prime Minister can change after each election, like the way we have just witnessed, in that it was Christopher Hipkin, and now it's Christopher Luxon, who is the Prime Minister. So the post of Prime Minister is there, but there are different people who fill that post. So similarly, Indra is a post that is filled by different individuals. So also noted in this purport is that although Antardhan could understand that King Indra was stealing the horse from his father, he did not kill Indra. For he knew that if one who is very powerful sometimes commits an abominable act, it should be disregarded. Right. I just also want to add here that, you know, Indra is always seen as doing some abominable act, but Indra also does good work as well. Now, we're actually just going to focus on this part of, you know, disregarding the abominable act. To disregard it may actually seem ludicrous. I mean, how can somebody commit an abominable act and get away with it? And we need to just be fine about it. This is certainly, that's not going to be accepted in our current times. I mean, if you look at it, even from the last elections, people were asking, how can we get, you know, curb the crime, stop this crime, make the laws tighter? You know, people need to be punished for what they are doing. But here we are reading, disregard what is going on. So let's look deeper into this. Let's try to understand why the abominable act is disregarded. Now, we know that Indra is not unique in actually committing these abominable acts or offenses like the theft, the kidnapping, and the rape. Would you like to share some other Shastric examples of personalities that have done abominable acts?
No.
Ravana, Hiranyakashipu.
Yes.
Kamsa.
Yes. Yeah, and there are so many. Yes, the list just goes on and on. So we have, like, you know, Chitraketu, when he committed a sin when against Parvati Mata and Lord Shiva.
Yes.
Daksha against Lord Shiva. Indra to Krishna during the Govardhan Leela. And then we also have Brahma to Krishna during the Brahman Mohan Leela.
Leela, yes.
Is Daksha to Narad Muni, Indra to Prithu Maharaj, which we've been reading a lot about as well. And Parikshit Maharaj and Shamika Rishi, you know, Shamika Rishi, when Parikshit Maharaj had garlanded him with the snake. And Indradyumna to Agastya Muni. So, you know, there's clearly so many examples, but, you know, today we're going to focus a little bit on Indra, right? So we know that these offenses and these fall downs are not exclusive to the demigods or the exalted personalities, like we've mentioned, but it's also evident in our world as well. The reality is a fall down can happen to any one of us. As soon as we become neglectful on our spiritual path, right? A fall down can happen. And Maya is so strong. Maya is always there to give us this, either a little push or a big push. Yeah. So our bhakti yoga path is the path of perfection. But the impediments or the obstacles arise because of our conditioning. And these impediments or obstacles lead to our fall down. Now, first of all, let's just analyze a little bit what this term fall down is. Fall down at its extreme is where an individual will lose all faith in Krishna. They lose all faith in Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they could leave the society totally. And then to a lesser extent, we have a fall down where someone is not following the 4 regulative principles, right? We know at initiation, we take this vow that we will do or chant a minimum of 16 rounds every day, and we will follow the 4 regulative principles of no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex. But by failing to maintain this vow, what happens is one can undergo an apparent fall down. Right. So this is simply because of neglect that a fall down can take place. So once in 1966, Srila Prabhupada had said that one who gives up Krishna consciousness will fall again into the material pool. Yeah. And Srila Prabhupada imitated the sound of a stone falling into water. So he'd say, it blooped. Right. So this term now is commonly used. If somebody has a fall down, they'll say, oh, so-and-so has blooped. So Srila Prabhupada took these fall downs very seriously. In fact, when a devotee had left, Srila Prabhupada would actually cry. Right? He was very sad to see a devotee leave. You see, a devotee is given this golden opportunity to make this lifetime his last lifetime. Right? In this lifetime, a devotee can go and can leave and go back to Godhead. But if we fall down, it means we are delaying this whole spiritual journey back to Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada used to say, don't be surprised with who stays, because he says, don't be surprised with who leaves, but be surprised with who stays, because Maya is so strong. Now, this brings us to the question, why does a devotee fall down? Would anyone like to say something about that? Why would a devotee fall down? I mean,
Offense to Vaishnavas.
Very nice. Well done. Yes. So that's Vaishnava Aparad is a big one. Yes. Is there anything else we can think of?
The Namaparad also is there.
Yes. Very nice, Prabhu. Very nice.
Or being negligent with your sadhana.
Yes. That's another big one as well. In fact, there are so many big ones, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Lust, anger, and greed. Lust, anger, and greed.
Lust is such a big thing. They just like the gateway to hell, isn't it? Lust, anger, and greed.
Yeah. Enjoyment of senses. Yes.
Yeah. So very nice. So that's lovely contribution. Thank you. So yeah, when we see a devotee do something sinful, though, it's kind of mind-boggling. You know, we try to understand, how can this happen? How can a devotee do something sinful? And even now, when we read with Lord Indra, how is it that someone who is the king of the heavens, king of the demigods, and you know the demigods are all in the mode of goodness, and here is Lord Indra doing something so heinous against Maharaj Prithu, right, who is such a righteous king. And Indra was so expert in kidnapping, and he was using such devious means so that he could not be detected. So the question is, what is the driving force? What is causing one to do this? And you've all given such lovely contributions to that as well. So actually in the Bhagavad Gita in 336, Arjuna asks Lord Krishna, what is it that impels one to do sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by some force? So what is pushing this person, right? And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that a living entity is by nature, right, pure, because we part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when we come in contact with the mode of material nature, with the modes of material nature, then we become contaminated. And that's when we start acting in sinful ways. So Lord Krishna explains in the next shlok in 337, right? Krishna says that it is lust only that causes these problems. Lust is that driving force. So basically, when the living entity is coming in contact with material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is actually transformed into lust. Just like how when tamarind is added to milk, the milk will become yogurt. So in order to get more understanding of this, we can look at Bhagavad Gita in 262. Daito Vishayan Pumsaha. So when contemplating the objects of the senses, what happens? Sangaste supajayate. The person develops an attachment for them. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. And from that attachment, lust develops. You see how lust is coming through? Kamat krodho vijayate. And from that lust, anger arises. Right? And then in the next shloka, in 263, we know that from anger, there's complete delusion. Right? And from that delusion, there's bewilderment of memory. And when the memory is bewildered, what happens? What is lost? Anyone?
Memory?
Falls down to the material pole again.
Yes. So yeah. When the memory is bewildered, the intelligence is lost. And when the intelligence is lost, yes, Prabhu, we fall back into the material pool. So serious, isn't that so? If you think about a devotee trying so hard on the spiritual path, but once we do a little bit of sin in terms of, not following our regulative principles, we can so easily fall back into that material pool. So there are two main kinds of impediments or stumbling blocks on the spiritual path. And you have all mentioned it already. One is the Vaishnava aparad, and the other thing is material attachment as well. So we know from Vaishnava aparad, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes it as the mad elephant aparad, right? Or the mad elephant offense. Now, many of us here are gardeners, and especially now over Labor Weekend, we're trying to put in all our young plants, all our little plants into the garden. And we'll take extra care to make sure that it's protected, and we'll nurture it really well. But if a mad elephant had to come and invade our gardens, all those lovely plants are going to be trampled. It's going to be absolutely nothing. So similarly with Vaishnava aparad, it's so great, even an advanced devotee can become almost devoid of his spiritual assets. So Krishna consciousness itself is eternal. It cannot be destroyed, right? But what happens is a devotee's advancement is just checked or delayed. So it just takes him a little bit longer to go back home, back to Krishna. So a Shastric example of Vaishnava aparad, I'm going to use Lord Indra only because he was noted in the purport, right? We know that he had disrespected his spiritual master, Brihaspati. And what did Brihaspati do? What did his spiritual master do when he was disrespected by Indra? His spiritual master left. He left because he wanted to teach Indra a lesson, right? And when his spiritual master left, Indra lost all of his opulence, right? He lost all of his power as well. And he was conquered by the demon. So then he was advised to accept Vishvarup as his spiritual master. But now Vishvarup, when he used to do the offerings, he secretly supplied some of the offerings to the maternal side, or to his family. The maternal side of his family was actually demons, right? So he had some affection for them in that way. But when Lord Indra came to know that some of these offerings were going to the demons, Lord Indra got really angry and he killed Vishvarup. So as a result of this, Indra actually suffered greatly. He suffered greatly. So just to fast forward a little bit, Indra confronts Vritarasura in a great battle. Right? This was all because of the killing of Vishvarup that Indra lands up in a battle with Vritarasura. So Vritarasura is not the usual demon. Externally, he looked like a demon. Internally, he was a great Vaishnava, right? And this is something that really confused Indra, because during the battle, Indra realized that Vritarasura had such good qualities. And sometimes Indra was actually reluctant to fight Vritarasura. And Vritarasura would encourage him, and he'll discuss philosophy with him. In fact, Vritarasura was described as being a guru to Indra during that battle that they were having. So Indra was really confused. How can such a great, furious-looking demon, be speaking like a devotee? And Parikshit Maharaj had asked Sukdev Goswami the same question. So Sukdev Goswami had explained how Vritarasura was Chitraketu in his last life. And Chitraketu was, he was a very blissful devotee. He was a wonderful devotee. But one day, whilst he was passing by, he saw that Lord Shiva was giving a discourse on renunciation to sadhus and to sannyasis. And Parvati Mata was sitting on his lap. And in a very mocking, in a very light-hearted way, Chitraketu had said, "Oh, look at you, you are speaking about renunciation and you have your beautiful wife sitting on your lap." Now, Lord Shiva himself did not take offense to this. But Parvati Mata, on the other hand, did take offense. And then she cursed Chitraketu. And that's how he became the demon Vritarasura. Right? So we can see the power of Vaishnava Aparad. Even a great devotee like Chitraketu became a demon in his next life. Yeah. So we may be even thinking that we're performing our devotional service really nicely. But if we are offending devotees, our progress on the spiritual path will be hindered. So we need to guard against this Vaishnava Aparad, this mad elephant's offense, if we really want to progress on the spiritual path. Right, so far we looked at Vaishnava Aparad. Now the next hindrance on our spiritual path that can cause a fall down as material attachment. Now, a famous example is Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj had left his family, his really nice family, and he had left all the royal opulences, and he went into the forest to do tapasya, right? But he became overwhelmed with his affection for a deer. And then he used so much of his time, so much of his energy in taking care of this deer, always worrying, is this deer well? Is this deer comfortable? And in this way, what was happening is that his sadhana was slowly fading away. And he forgot his actual reason for coming into the forest. And he forgot about the purpose of his life. And we know from Bhagavad Gita in 8.6, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajanti ante kalevaram tam tamivaiti kuntaya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. So whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So when Bharat Maharaj was leaving his body, he was thinking about a deer, the deer he was taking care of. And so he became a deer in his next life. But Lord Krishna is so merciful to his devotee. Lord Krishna, we know, gives us remembrance. In 15:15, we know, Sarvasya chaham hirti sanivesto Mata Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Krishna says he is seated in everyone's heart. And from him comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So in the body of the deer, Bharat Maharaj remembered his previous life. He remembered the mistake that he had made. And he was set that he was not going to make the same mistake again. So he, as a deer, stayed in the association of sadhus. And always remembering the Lord, he left his body in that way. He left the deer body in that way. So in his next life, the Lord gave him a human body. So he was now Jada Bharat, and he was born in a good family, right? So now he became a renounced devotee. So from the example of Bharat Maharaj, we can note how material attachment was an impediment on his spiritual path and how it delayed his journey back to Godhead. He had to go through 2 more lifetimes before he could go back to Godhead. So we can see how strong Maya is, right? And we need to guard against it. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the Shikshastakam in the 4th verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Nadanam Najanam Na Sundarim. He's using na 3 times, you know. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying he doesn't want the wealth. He doesn't want to be born again. He doesn't want beautiful women. He could have just said, Nadanam Janam Sundarim, right? But to emphasize it, he's saying na, not 3 times, right? We just don't have to have any attraction for all of that. So Srila Prabhupada has repeatedly guided devotees to stay strong in their sadhana so that we can keep Maya away. And Srila Prabhupada used to say the only problem with his disciples was that they did not have any fear for Maya, right? They became very complacent. So in the early days when Krishna consciousness had started, when Srila Prabhupada was here, Srila Prabhupada was in a room with his disciples. This was in Los Angeles. And Govinda Dasi had made him a coat with peacock feather tassels to tighten its hood. And someone had given Srila Prabhupada a gold lame bead bag. Lame is a type of fabric, right? And Prabhupada had said, now we are getting so many things, so I'm just praying to Krishna that I may not fall down. This is Srila Prabhupada, who was so steadfast in his devotion to Krishna, right? But what he is doing is he is teaching us, don't take Maya for granted. Maya is powerful. She's very strong. She can push us off at any time. So in a letter to Jadurani in 1967, Srila Prabhupada had written that in the material world, there's this constant fight between Maya and the living entity. Maya is strong, and we can become her victim at any moment. And the only means of protecting us from the attack of Maya is to become fully Krishna conscious. We need to become fully Krishna conscious. When we fall back in our Krishna consciousness, then Maya enters. It's like if we are negligent of our health, if we don't take care of our health, then we are very likely to become ill. Similarly, if we don't take care, I've got my Prabhu laughing at me when I say that. Similarly, if we're not steadfast in our Krishna consciousness, then we can be defeated by Maya. To that extent that we become negligent, we are actually allowing Maya to take over. Okay? So from these examples of Vritrasur and Bharat Maharaj, we can see that after their fall downs and rectification, they were still able to go back home to Godhead. Right? Their love for Krishna was actually intensified, and the Lord gives protection to such devotees. Right? The Lord protected Bharat Maharaj, in that he allowed him to remember his relationship with him. So that is protection from the Lord. And then in Bharat Maharaj's next birth, after being the deer, he was born into a Brahminical family. And similarly, Chitraketu, he became a demon, but also he was able to remember the Lord. His devotion was so steadfast. I mean, there he was in a battle, his arms are being cut off, but he is still glorifying the Lord. So even if there are impediments, the devotee's attachment to the Lord is absolutely strong. He in no way deviates from that spiritual path. And Lord Krishna is waiting, he is watching, for that opportunity to bring us back to him. And if for some reason we fall from that path, Lord Krishna protects us, right? Kantiya prati janehi name bhakta pranashyati. So the main point here that I'm trying to establish is that Lord Krishna is our protector. No matter what we do, he's still looking after us, right? He is our protector. He never forgets the service that we do for him, right? It's just that he puts everything on hold so that we can rectify ourselves if we had to have a fall down. And during that time, the devotee is really strong on rectifying himself. He's really strong on purifying himself. And in that stage of rectification, the devotee is deeply regretting what he has done. Even in the 7th chapter of Canto 6, Lord Indra says, that he was proud of his little opulence and he was polluted by his false ego. And he said, who in the world would accept such riches at the risk of falling down? So he condemns his wealth, he condemns his opulence. And in another instance, we hear that Indra had deviously entered the abode of Gautama Rishi and he raped his wife, yeah? So that was really serious. Gautama Rishi actually cursed him. He said that Indra was attracted to female genitals. So because of that, Indra's body will be covered with female genitals. Indra was in a state of despair. How could he possibly go back to the heavenly planets in a body covered by such paths? So he pleaded to Gautama Rishi. And Gautama Rishi said, okay, I will change it, but this time I will change those paths to eyes, because it's your eyes that gets you into trouble. With your eyes, you're looking at the beautiful form of the lady with the intention of enjoying the ladies. So because of that, your body will be covered with eyes. So still, Indra was in the state of embarrassment and despair. He could not go to the heavenly planets like that. Imagine everyone's going to be asking him, how is it that you were able to get all of this on your body? So instead, Indra fled. He tried to flee off to the sky. But an old lady follows him. She's the personification of the sinful reactions. And she was coughing up blood because she had tuberculosis. Her clothes were covered with blood. And Indra tried to get away from her. And he eventually reaches the Manasa Sarovara lake. And he goes and becomes invisible. And he hides in the subtle paths of the stem of the lotus there. And how long did Indra stay there for? How long did Lord Indra stay in that lake for? He stayed there for 1,000 years. And in that years, even Agni Dev could not get into that river to give Indra the remnants of the yagna, from the yagnas that were performed. So you can see that even though a devotee has a fall down, it does not mean that he's getting off scot-free. He's really miserable, he's sad, he's despondent, right? He goes into deep self-reflection and he is regretting. in a letter to Upendra, Srila Prabhupada had written, so whatever fall down has been, you should be regretful about it. But it is not so serious, nor is it a permanent disqualification, right? And in a lecture I listened to recently, it was mentioned how a Brahmin, it was a Brahmin or a sannyasi, who was supposed to be celibate, but during his services, he had met a lady and she became attracted to him. And with that attraction, a relationship developed between them, and an intimate relationship. And then eventually they had gotten married and they led a proper grihastha life. But the devotee community, they basically stopped having association with this couple. They had lost trust in that Brahmin. So this devotee was actually very distraught because he had no devotee association. So in that mood, he had written a letter to them. And he wrote, it's very rare to have the association of devotees. It is with this association of devotees that we can actually stop the cycle of birth and death. But he says, without their association now, he's going to drown in this ocean of samsara. And his only destination will be Yamalok. And he said he will just continue being so degraded. So we find also in Srimad Bhagavatam in 6:11-24, Vritasur was in a similar mood. He was yearning to have devotee association. He prayed to the Lord, when will I again be able to be a servant of your eternal servants? He prayed that he again becomes their servant, so that his mind will be always thinking about Krishna, so that his words can glorify Krishna, so that his body can be used to be engaged in devotional service. This is the BMW, body, mind, and words, totally engaged in the service of Krishna. So back to that devotee that was cast out of the community, what had happened was that devotee community realized how insensitive they had been. You know, by nature, a devotee is supposed to be compassionate, but sometimes the devotee is not so compassionate to a devotee that has fallen down. So realizing how insensitive they were, some of them actually teared and they accepted the fallen devotee, the devotee who had fallen, I should say, and his wife back into the community. Right. So let me tell you another story. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, one that's related to it. Once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling in South India. He was on a tour in South India. And he was accompanied by Kala Krishna Das, who was a Brahmin. But Kala Krishna Das, what had happened was he got into the association of Batadharis. They were like gypsy women, right? And he became intimate with them. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, remember the Lord is our protector. He rescued Kala Krishna Das from the company of this gypsy woman. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could have easily left him there to be in the association of those women. And in that way, Kala Krishna Das would have just been sinning more and more and more. But the Lord is so merciful. He's our Father. If a toddler is like struggling to stand up and he keeps falling and he keeps falling, the Lord will go there and or the Father will go there and he'll hold that toddler and hold him up so that he is safe and he can get on. So similarly, the Lord is there always to take care of us, to protect us. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had returned from the tour, he had said that he did not want Kala Krishna Das to be his personal assistant anymore. He wanted someone with a steady mind. And by rejecting him in this way, he is trying to teach us all that in order to stay on this path, we need to be steadfast, right? We can't slip off, do something bad and think, oh yeah, I'm just going to hop on back on the spiritual path and continue and keep slipping off and coming back. That is something that is not accepted, right? So when Kala Krishna Das was rejected by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was crying. He was in total despair. So the other devotees, headed by Nityananda, they had given him another service. They asked him to go to Jagannath and to let Sachi Mata know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was coming, and to also let the other devotees know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to come to Jagannath Puri. So Srila Prabhupada, another story related to this would be when Srila Prabhupada was getting reports about a devotee who was doing some immoral activities. Srila Prabhupada said that that devotee should be transferred to Europe. So they did not cast him out of the devotee community or out of ISKCON as such. They just transferred him somewhere else to continue his service and also for him to rectify himself. So similarly here, Kala Krishna Das remained in devotional service. He was given assurance, that he can get back to Krishna. And his service had brought great pleasure to the Vaishnavas. So here we are seeing that the Lord rectifies the devotee. So first we saw the Lord protecting the devotee. Now we're seeing how the Lord is rectifying the devotee. So we find that this characteristic of being regretful is the main difference between a devotee and a materialistic person. So when a devotee falls down, he is regretting. But when a materialistic person is experiencing some sin from his fruitive actions, it just continues on that path. There's no regret about it because of the conditioning being so strong. Just like, an orphan, there's no one to care for an orphan, but a king's son will have so much of love, so much of care, right? So when an orphan is in trouble, there's no one there for him. But with the king's son, there will be so much of help coming his way. So similarly, when one takes to Krishna consciousness, the Lord is there, always protecting and taking care of him. The devotee has a very special place in the Lord's heart. We know in 931, Krishna declares that his devotee will never perish. In Bhagavad Gita 9:22, he says he'll carry what he lacks and preserves what he has. And in 9:29, whoever renders service to me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. So we can see how a devotee is very dear to the Lord. And just like how the relationship between father and son can't be broken, similarly, the relationship between the Lord and the devotee cannot be broken. So this thing about rectifying oneself is so important. A materialist like Ravan was given that opportunity to rectify himself. He was given time to hand Sita back to Lord Ram. But still, he stuck to his own materialistic, sinful ways. And in that way, he was killed by Lord Ram. I'm just being mindful that time is running. I got 1 minute left. Okay. So the devotee, whether he is empowered by the Lord or whether he is not empowered by the Lord, he stays steady in his practice, like the way we have seen with Maharaj Parikshit, right? We know that he garlanded Shamika Rishi with the dead snake. And because of that, he was going to be, Maharaj Parikshit was going to be killed by the Takshak serpent. But still, he did not cry out, "Oh, my Lord, you protected me when I was in my mother's womb. Why aren't you protecting me now?" He accepted his curse, right? And what did he do? He was listening to Sukadeva Goswami. So he was totally engaged in Krishna consciousness, right? They say that the devotee always yearns to have the love of Krishna. So during this rectification state, the devotee's love for the Lord is actually intensifying with the mercy of the Lord. So the last point here about the Lord is that our Lord is our purifier. So we've seen so far that the Lord is our protector, He's our rectifier, and He's our purifier. Devotees are very valued members of our society. Srila Prabhupada had likened devotees to the bomber pilots, in an air force. The Air Force spends lots of time, lots of money, actually giving the bomber pilots lots of skill and knowledge, and they don't want to lose them from the Air Force. They are irreplaceable. So Srila Prabhupada says, similarly, the devotees are irreplaceable, right? So much of time and energy goes in a devotee developing himself, and a devotee is there to spread Krishna consciousness, If we lose a devotee, we are losing a soldier. We're losing a Sankirtan warrior. So how we respond to a devotee's fall down is very important. Can I have another 5 or 10 minutes, please? Shama Mataji, is that okay?
Yes, Mataji, please continue.
Okay, thank you so much. So one aspect that we need to avoid is prajalpa. If somebody has had a fall down, and if we are involved in talking about that devotee, then we are actually causing an offense that's going to lead to our own fall down. Excuse me, just like the sun, the sun, it will evaporate all filthy things like urine. But we don't discuss, oh, the sun is getting contaminated. We still see the sun as being the sun. Similarly, the devotee is still seen as being a devotee. Another analogy is like the waning moon, right? Just as the moon appears to be changing, the moon is still the same. So similarly, the devotee is still the same. So we've established that the devotee is really dear to the Lord. Excuse me. So who are we to criticize or judge that devotee? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj had said, look within. Amend yourself rather than pry into the frailties of others. We are all not perfect, and we know to err is human, but to forgive is divine. So we should be concerned about the welfare of devotees in our community and all around us. If someone is having any issues, we should look at how we can support them. Devotee care is so important. And if someone has left, we must look at how we can bring them back so that they can get back onto their spiritual journey. So in conclusion, we all on this path of perfection. That's our bhakti yoga path. It's a path of perfection. But Maya is so strong, it sometimes pushes us off. The impediments come because of our conditioning. If a devotee is engaged in some abominable activity, these activities should be considered like spots that resemble the mark of a rabbit on the moon. That spot is so insignificant. The moon is still able to give off its moonlight. It's still illuminating so nicely. So similarly, if a devotee has a fall down, right, he should not be considered as abominable. The activity may be abominable, but the devotee is not abominable. And Srila Prabhupada says that our only defense against Maya is to always be Krishna conscious. So let's keep our sadhana really strong. Always remember Krishna. Never forget Krishna. I'll just end with something that a conversation between Chitra, who we know is one of the Astasakis, and Yashoda Mataji. One day Chitra had drawn a very beautiful painting. She had done a beautiful painting of Lord Krishna. And Yashoda Mataji asked, how can I pay you back? And Chitra says, it's okay, you don't have to. But Yashoda Mataji insisted. And Chitra said, give me Krishna. And do you know what Yashoda Mataji said? She said, I'll give up everything for Krishna. but I won't give Krishna up for anything. I'm going to say that again. I'll give up everything for Krishna, but I won't give Krishna up for anything. Right? So trying to follow in the footsteps of Mata Yashoda and imbibing that sort of mood, right? We need to keep our sadhana strong so that we don't become victims of Maya. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you all for your kind attention, your patience, and your participation. So I don't know whether you want to take a minute or two just for some reflections or realizations.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Very nice class. As you explained, this text is very, 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 very complicated. If you read it simply, it's nothing, but it's in go deep, is so much of confusions. So you have removed that confusion by expressing the points, how devotees fall down and how to pull them out, and what they do, and what are the things that noted for is abominable act. With so many examples, tells us to really understand the meaning of fall down. Is so nicely explained in the stories of different devotees, great devotees. Tells us the last line, as you mentioned, I'll give everything, but not Krishna. That's how the things need to be understood. It's not a simple text. It looks very simple, but it's a very, very deep-rooted one. You need to understand in the right perspective, otherwise we can get misled. Thank you so much for getting us understand the real meaning of this text file. Thank you so much once again.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Okay. So,
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much for a very
Thank
nice class, particularly telling the importance of the reason why we fall down. As you all know, in 7:14 it is very clearly stated, Devi esha gunamayi mama maya durte. It is the Lord's power. The Maya is also a Lord's power, so we should not forget it. It is very, very difficult to overcome. And when we follow the next line, it is Mame gunamayi mama maya durte. Mame praboddante maya maitam tarante. Only by surrendering to the Lord we can get rid of it. So we can catch hold of Krishna, that He alone can save us, no one else. And in fact, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is very clearly told that where Krishna is compared as Surya, the sun, and the Maya is Andhaka. So when we take shelter of Krishna fully, the Maya cannot come. We have to be very convinced about that. That when we are away from Krishna, at the moment Maya takes up. And that's why we must have a faith like Uttara, who has not approached anyone else. When Parikshit Maharaj was attacked by the son in her womb, she directly approached Krishna, because she knew that Krishna is the only savior and no one else can save. So if we consider always that Krishna is our savior and He alone can save us, and in this way we surrender, then we have no chance of being fall down in the Maya. And you have also very clearly stated what should be the duty of us as a devotee when someone else in our community has fallen down. So we have, in absence of time, I'm not going to that. But thank you once again for your very nice class. And thank you once again, very nice and explaining the purport of the text very nicely. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Mataji. This is very nice class.
Thank you,
And
Mataji.
yes, I like the example most, that moon and the devotees. Even devotees having some fall down, but still he gives the light. And also that Jasoda Ma and Chitra's example. Is, how she wants and how Jasoda Maya did not want to give Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you,
Very,
Mataji.
very inspiring class. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you very much for the wonderful class
Thank
and
you.
the questions and explanations that you brought about. It's really encouraging. And only I would like to say is that the offenses that make us fall down. If we offend devotees, it's very, very, very important to avoid aparadhs. If we are going to do aparadh, then we are not going to progress in our spiritual life. So we have to be very, very, very careful while we are talking or dealing with devotees. We have to be. Thank you, Mataji.
Very nice. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Okay. So can we close there for today?
Thank you, Mataji. It appears there is no other person to make comments. So thank you once again for the very nice class. Vancha
Kalpataruhascha kripa sindhu vayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Har Grace Saradiya Devi Dasi Mataji ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari
Hari
Bol.
Bol.
All glories to assembled devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.